And then, whoops, someone got booted there. Let me put her back in. Okay, so this is the public meeting for the Route 131 closure. My name is Natalie Boyle. I work for EIV Technical Services, but I work on behalf of the state of Vermont, VTrans, to disseminate project information, project updates, function as a liaison of sorts between the public, businesses, the municipality, and VTrans, so the resident engineer or the contractor. So I'm a good source of information, a good source of first contact, because I'm in communication with Jace Curtis, the resident engineer, Brandon Kipp, the project manager, and Nick LeClaire, the project supervisor for Pike, on a regular basis. So, and when we get near the end of the agenda as sources of information, what I'll try to do is find a quick screenshot of what the update looks like and make sure that everyone has my information. And we can go from there during question and answer time if anyone has questions for me as far as public outreach and sources of information. But for right now, to get started, let's go ahead and make some quick introductions. Let's just start with Nick Pappas on the VTrans side, and then we'll go to Brandon Kipp and Jace.
Nick Pappas, VTrans Pavement Management, Project Supervisor. I work for Brandon Kipp.
And I'm Brandon Kipp. I'm a project manager in the payment design section. And yeah, that's all I got.
This is Jace Curtis. I'm the resident engineer working out of the Northeast construction region for this project.
And then Nick LeClaire, why don't you give us a quick shout out?
Sorry. So I'm Nick LeClaire. I'm the project superintendent for Pike Industries.
So then let's go, Brandon Kipp, I'm gonna go ahead and make you, it's gonna say make host. So I'm making you the host, and now you should be able to share your screen if you go down the bottom of that.
Yep.
Okay, great. And Brandon's gonna share kind of the project scope right now and give us some background project information for this year and next year, not just the closure in August.
All right. Can most people see that?
I can.
Okay. Yeah.
I can see it.
I wasn't sure how many people were going to be on to see this, and I know this meeting is more based around the box culvert closure, but I felt like I should probably explain a little bit or explain all of what this project is about. So I have a few slides just wanted to show the public, and it might help the questions later on for the public to have this information. Most of it's in the fact sheet, but it'd be a good way to kind of reiterate what's in the fact sheet. So the slides I'm going to show you are just going to be pretty brief, hopefully. Just show you where the project location is, describe a little bit about Vermont 131 historically, and what's been done to it throughout its life, and then kind of go into the scope of work of this project and kind of explain what the general timeline of events was proposed in the design process. But I'll let Jace and the construction folks speak more in terms of the details of the construction schedule, but I'll just kind of touch on what we were thinking in the design process when we put this project together. So this project begins at the Vermont Route 103, 131 intersection in Cavendish, and it extends approximately 9 miles easterly to the Vermont 106, 131 intersection in Wethersfield. A few more things noteworthy about this project. It's a linear project, but there's also a bunch of isolated locations where we're doing a bunch of other work. So it's a large project, but it's also a bunch of smaller projects within this larger project. So just to just to name a few of the larger isolated projects within this larger project is we have that large culvert replacement over by the village limits of Cavendish, over by the Glimmerstone Mansion. We also have a very long slope stabilization soil nail system that we're installing just east of Brook Road. I think it's approximately 1,200 feet long. And then we have a riverbank restoration site over by the town line, Weathersfield Cavendish town line. That's basically where the project is located and basically where the larger isolated work is taking place and what that is. I thought this slide was appropriate because I thought it would reiterate to the public how substantial of work we're doing to this road. Based on what I could find, this road was built in the mid 1950s conventionally with engineered sub-base materials. This road might have existed before 1950. It might have been like a goat path, or it might have been a horse and buggy path, dirt road. But I think it was built between the mid to late 1950s. And then all throughout its life, it's been overlaid and resurfaced on like a 10 to 12 year cycle with a resurfacing project. And what's noteworthy about this was Tropical Storm Irene happened in 2011. And, a bunch of damage happened to that road. A bunch of damage happened in the southern portion of the state. And that's a critical milestone with this project because it was originally programmed to be a regular roadway rehabilitation project. But when Irene hit, it kind of almost put a little wrench in the mix because a lot of other work got added to this project to rehabilitate more than just a roadway. So that's why the box culvert and a lot more work was added to the project at the 2011, 2012 timeline. So I know there's a 7-year gap you see there, but I mean, we had to go through right of way, we had to go through permitting, we had to kind of rescope the project. A lot of projects got programmed right after Tropical Storm Irene with a lot of scope, with a lot of right of way. So we had to kind of scale it back, reevaluate it. So that's why you're seeing a very large gap. And with these projects, budgeting is also a big component to making sure it can be advertised. So that's why it's taken so long for this project to kind of come about, because it kind of grew in size and we kind of scaled it back, and going through right away and going through permitting kind of adds more time to the schedule. So this is kind of like, I thought this was a good thing to kind of show to everybody in this meeting. And what we're doing to the roadway is probably something as substantial or pretty substantial in comparison to when it was first built. So what you're going to see out there next year is probably the biggest treatment that we've done to this road since it was built and constructed. So a lot of people don't really understand that sometimes. We had a project down in Jamaica Wind Hall last year, and a lot of the public was upset about it. But if you look at it from this perspective, this is a very large investment that the Agency of Transportation is making on this particular road. Just to kind of touch on the linear portion, the roadway work, and kind of just describe it a little bit better to somebody who might not know what we're doing out there. This is probably the most intrusive treatment that our paving program does. And basically what it comes down to is we mill off a portion of the roadway. We remove part of the pavement. We pulverize it similar to like a giant rototiller. And then we add a bunch of new gravel. And then we reshape it, regrade it, and then repeat the process again by repulverizing it, but with an additive, with a stabilizer additive. And then we add a bunch of pavement on top of that. So it's a long process, and it's usually something that amounts to about $1.25 million a mile to what to expect invest on this kind of treatment. But this is a good thing to kind of show what the process will be mostly next year in 2021. But just to kind of like dive into the isolated spots that I mentioned before, this project has a precast box culvert which will be installed over by the Glimmerstone Mansion on the west side of Cavendish Village. And the work there entails removing an old 4x4 by 50 box culvert and installing a much larger one, 6 foot high, 8 foot wide, 59 feet long. And what was also required of that was some sewer relocation routing, because the existing municipal sewer was essentially resting on top of the existing 4x4 box culvert. So when you add that new larger culvert, work had to be done to mitigate the impacts of that larger culvert. So there will be a temporary relocation routing of the sewer, and then a permanent sewer that will rest on top of the new culvert, similar to how it was before. And with that, there's going to be a 3-day road closure to expedite this work. Right now, it's scheduled to be from August 18th to August 20th. And this is to expedite, to get the box culvert in as fast as possible to minimize disruption to the traveling public. And the detour of this 3-day closure is listed on the fact sheet, but it's a 14.1 mile long detour on the state system. We can kind of talk a little bit more about that later, but I just wanted to show that on this slide. I don't want to get too far into the details on the detour. And also there's a soil nail wall system just west of Brook Road. And in a nutshell, it pretty much involves cleaning up the slope face, removing vegetation, loose rock, any rock that's kind of prone to being a hindrance to the soil nail process. And then what they do is they drill a bunch of nails into the slope. I think in this case, it's showing 20 feet on that diagram that you see on your screen, but I think in actuality, I think we're going with 14 feet. So this will create almost like a grid system along that 1,200 foot long section. And once the soil nails are in place, they install like a grout and then like a mesh material over the entire system. But we can field more questions about that later. And then these projects always have additional ancillary items that we also add to the project. Guardrail replacement will happen, under drain, ditching, small culverts, sign replacement. I believe most of the sign replacement will probably happen next year when the project is finished. What you're seeing out there right now is probably some culvert work and some under drain work. Guardrail, I think, will probably be finished up next year as well. And just to give everyone kind of like a general timeline for what we kind of planned for this project, is the game plan was to try and get all this larger ancillary work done in 2020. The small culverts, the one big large culvert, the soil nail wall, get everything done in 2020, which will set the stage nicely for 2021 when we start throwing around a bunch of gravel and we start doing the most of the in roadway work. So that was our game plan when we put this project together in design. But I'll let kind of Natalie and Jason, maybe Pike, speak in terms of more of the specifics if questions are brought up about specific timelines, because sometimes construction can be a little bit dynamic. So I don't want to be the one to describe detailed things about every little thing about the schedule. So with that said, I think that's all I had. I just wanted to show those few slides to kind of set the stage and kind of let everybody know what this project was intended to be.
Great, thanks, Brandon. Can you go ahead back over on the sidebar there and just make me the host again? I don't think I can make myself, I don't think I can I can't see how to make myself the host. Hang on a second. Or if I need to switch to shared content. I don't see how I can, whoops, cancel. Is it giving you an option to put me back on as the host?
I just hit stop sharing.
Okay. Yeah, it still has you as the host. If you go click on your name on the sidebar, will it give me the host back? So at the, let's see, if you go to the very bottom and it says participants,
Yeah.
if you click on that, and then our names should come up on the side, I believe, right?
Participants. Yep, I see the participant list.
And then on your name, it should say host, right?
Yep.
If you, I don't know if you go next to my name where it says more, will it let you make me the host again?
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that would be great. Perfect. Okay, thanks. That way, if someone decides to jump back in, or if we lose someone, I can get them admitted again. Thank you.
Mhm.
So why don't we go to Nick LeClaire now from Pike. Nick, why don't you give us a quick overview of the culvert replacement, the schedule, what folks can expect, and at the very end, we'll do Q&A on any of the project scope or specifics about the culvert, anything that anyone has concerns about or questions about, we'll address all of that at the end, but also feel free to, stop us at any point, put your hand up and let us know you have a question, okay? But I'm gonna turn it to Nick LeClaire from Pike now so that he can address the closure coming up in August.
Sure. So as we mentioned before, the closure is anticipated between the 18th and 20th. We do anticipate doing some work in the area the week prior. That would be one lane closure with alternating one-way traffic. To try to accomplish anything we can outside the roadway prior to the actual closure. At midnight, or I guess 12:01 a.m. On the 18th, we'll close down the road completely and activate the detour. At which time, I guess we would start with the structure excavation, as well as the sewer basin excavation to reroute the sewer for a temporary service outside the limits of our excavation for the box culvert. We don't anticipate any loss of service or any interruption in service at all. Although it is construction, things happen, but there should be no issues there as far as service to any of the locals. We hope to be complete with all the excavation the evening of the 18th and start setting our structure the very next day. And get it all the way across the road, working south to north, I guess, technically. We'll set the box that day with a crane. And then have it backfilled after we get NICOM in there to do the matting on top. We should have it backfilled, within 12 hours after that. So, in all fairness, I think the expectation is to have the road open sooner than the 20th. Although, for ease of the process, we may keep it closed for the length of the closure, just to make life a little easier on us and to be sure we can get it all accomplished and done in time. I mean, as far as the timeline for that particular item, it kind of covers everything that we're gonna do. Don't know if I have much else to add there.
Yeah, and what I'll try to do is, and I'll talk with Jace further about this, but see how many updates that we want to go out during that you know, technically, I guess, 3-day closure. We might send one out every day just so folks can see process as it goes along. But certainly when we know it's going to be open, particularly if they're going to open early, that update will go out to all of our information channels. Just so if for some reason we know it's going to open at 3 a.m., we'll schedule that to go out so that when you wake up and get your email at 6 a.m., you know that you don't have to go the long way to work, that you can go right down 131. So we'll certainly be timely with our reopen information as that draws near for this project. So that will definitely happen. And then, so for the project kind of technical aspects, the roadway work, the schedule, does anyone have any questions for Brandon or Nick Pappas, or Jace is the resident engineer, or Nick Leclerc or myself? Okay, so real quick then, I am going to, let's see, share my screen. See if I can, oh, here we go. So can you all see that? That is what my public, well, this was the notice. So these are the updates that I send out. This is the public meeting notice, but the Rutland, I mean, the construction updates are pretty much the same thing. They come through as Vermont Agency of Transportation. They'll have whatever construction information there is, if there's pictures. So for this one, when the closure comes out, it'll look similar to this. It'll just have all of this closure information. And then when we reopen, it will have that the road is reopened. All of my contact information is down here. That fact sheet that Brandon was talking about is, I don't know if this will open. If it does, I just clicked that button right there. It doesn't look like I'm connecting, but there's oh, there it is. So that link takes you to this, and it has a little more detailed information on the whole project as a whole that Brandon went through earlier as well. So that's just another source of information that is easily and readily accessible. And again, my contact information is there as well. So there are plenty of ways to get in touch with me, plenty of ways to get information, and certainly if you have questions, contact me and I will find the answer or put you in touch with someone who has the answer. So that is all I have from a PR standpoint. I don't know if the town has anything or if the Regional Planning Commission has anything that they have questions or concerns, or they want to bring anything up.
I think we're good from a town perspective.
Okay, great.
Natalie, this is Jason from Regional Planning. Just curious if you needed any kind of extra help with getting the word out about the road closure, you know, in advance of it happening.
Yeah, Jason, always interested in getting the word out as wide and as far as possible. So you're on my update list, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and so I do know that what I'm finding because of this constant contact is what I'll try to remember to do is email you just the link, so the update comes through to you as that screen that I just shared. But if I send you just the link, oftentimes it's easier to embed that in whatever posts you want. So I think Brendan might get it. I send it to Margaret for Cavendish Connects, and I think it's easier to embed those in a Front Porch Forum post, for example, or something. So I'll try to remember to get that to you also each week, Jason. And then you can push that through your information channels, and that would be great. I do have some cycling organizations on my list as well. So I'm in close contact with the cycling community, particularly for this closure and then for next year, because I know a lot of cyclists use 131. Next year is not going to be very bicycle friendly. So trying to get that word spread wide and far as well to the cycling community and motorcyclists in particular. So yeah, any thoughts that anyone has from the town or any other kind of social media outlets that you can take any information I have, push it through your channels if you need me to send it to you in a different format. I'm certainly happy to do that. Just let me know and I'll give you what you need to get that information out there. And feel free to share my information, email, telephone. I am always available. So I want my name out there and I want folks to be able to contact me. So that is all that I have. Jace, do you have anything on the VTrans end as far as anything you need?
No, I think I'm all set. If anyone has any questions, though, I'm here to shout them out if I can.
Okay. Okay, well, unless VTrans or the town has anything, I think I'm all set and we're good to wrap this up unless there's any other questions out there. Okay. Well, again, I'll send this link to Okemo Valley TV, so it will be aired at dates of their choosing, but this will go back out and I can send links to that as well, or have Okemo Valley TV send that out. So you should be able to access information. And again, any questions along the way, please reach out to me, call me or email me and I'll get back to you. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Too.